The Razor joins us, as we said, on the Harbor One hotline. The Bruins, in my estimation, Andrew, they whiffed on Bo Horvat not making a move. Is that a name they had to be in on?
I'm sure they kicked tires on it, and it's a pleasure to be on here with
yes, welcome.
The new show.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me. It's an exciting week over there. They kicked tires on it, but at the end of the day, you're not going to give up 1.5 roster players from this group for Bo Horvat. I'm not sure how he really would have fit in with the group this season. Yes, in the future it might look like a good idea, but no, what the Islanders give up was something that I don't think the Bruins were willing to give up, and I think they're okay with that.
What roughly would have been a similar package, like in your mind? Would it have been Debrusk or Carlo is a name that's been mentioned that I guess was off limits for the Bruins? Like, what would have been a similar package to give Bruins fans an idea?
I think the similar package is Frederick or Debrusk with Lysell and then a first-round
That doesn't sound like that much. No,
it doesn't. It doesn't, but you also have to worry about salary cap numbers, and at this point right now, Bo Horvat's only a rental. So that's the other thing, too. If the Bruins have done deals the last couple of years for Taylor Hall, Hampus Lindholm, they've had contracts done with those players, so they don't become rentals. Bo Horvat's still a rental right now for the New York Islanders. They have more of an ability to sign him. If he comes here without a contract, they have to get David Pastrnak done. They can't be worried about David Pastrnak and Bo Horvat. That's another part of this puzzle as well.
You brought up David Pastrnak, not me. So any news on his contract that you've heard about them getting any closer, maybe over the All-Star break, to figuring something out there?
Yeah, it's radio silence. It's radio silence. I think that's a good thing. They're not going to the second this comes out in public, where both sides are commenting on contract situations, that will make me nervous. Until then, everyone's playing the season. Everyone's doing their due diligence, but there's a lot going on in the league, and the salary cap still isn't set. So that's a whole nother issue.
So I hear what you're saying about radio silence maybe being a good thing and that there's no bad news out there, but I kind of was hoping to have an announcement by now. Like I'm not necessarily waiting for more radio silence when it sounds like they're so close. I'd like the update.
Well, I would love the day that they just roll David after practice over at Warrior Arena. He signs a contract in front of everybody, and it's over. It's a big deal. And when I say a big deal, I say there's a lot of things behind the scenes. There's a lot of bells and whistles to a contract like this for a guy in David's position, and it does take time to hammer it out. And then on top of it, you add in the fact that the Bruins are trying to figure out how they're going to make their team go forward. They're going to try and figure out this trade deadline with a historic team that they have at this point. So there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of time left. It's not the end of the world at this point.
Razor, what's the fine line that Sweeney's going to have to walk here when it comes to the current team chemistry and the need to either upgrade or to sort of reinforce certain areas?
Well, listen, that's what's keeping them up at night. That's the reality. When they know they have to make deals. They know they have to get better. They know that the Carolinas, the Tampas, the Torontos are going to make themselves better at the deadline. You've seen Islanders already make themselves better. So you see that they know that. What is the fine line? And is it two of your roster players now for one really good roster player? Do they need a top 6 player? Do they need a top 2 or 3 defensemen? Or are we going to really rely on this group and believe in this group and add depth pieces? And I think that's the way they should go. I think you're looking at a middle 6 forward with speed that can score, a top 5, 6, 7 defenseman who's going to play a lot of minutes on a long playoff run. That's where I think the Bruins should look. You don't need to hit home runs with the group they have right now.
Raycroft, you brought up the defenseman need there. How big are your concerns about their depth at defense?
They're not big because when you have Hampus Lindholm and Charlie McAvoy, those two guys cover a lot of holes. And that's not to take anything away from the Carlos, the Grizzlies, Clifton, and Forbort. What they've done this season, I mean, we talk about Forbort and Clifton, the jumps they've made, the penalty killing. You just need 7, 8, 9 defensemen come playoff time. And if you're expecting to play 28 NHL Stanley Cup playoff games like the Bruins do at this point, you need more guys. And you need probably a guy who's a little bit longer, some big body who can play penalty kill minutes. You're not worried about a power play guy. You're not worried about a scoring defenseman. You're just trying to add depth that can come in and play 20 minutes if needed against one of these better teams in the Eastern Conference.
Is there any reason there was this soundbite that we just played from Elliot Friedman about how Boston was really not interested in moving on from Brandon Carlo? Is there any reason aside from depth that you know about Brandon Carlo that makes him, I guess at least in the case with Bo Horvat, any trade there, untouchable for the Bruins?
Well, so I guess I'll answer the question with a question we back into a little bit. Okay, so you trade Brandon Carlo for Bo Horvat. We just talked about the depth of defenseman that you need. So now how are you going to get another defenseman? Who are you going to get to replace Brandon Carlo? And how that's a big deal if you lose a guy who is the first one over the boards on every penalty kill, who plays 2.5, 3 minutes of penalty kill a night on average.
If he's healthy, Razor, like not to jump in, but if he's healthy and he's, as you know, that's a big roll of the dice with him.
Sure, yes, but when he's playing and when he's on, he's still a guy that you need in your lineup. He's a guy who shut down Austin Matthews in 2019 in the first round against Toronto. He's a guy that we've seen. He didn't have a great week, so it's a tough night today. He had a tough couple games, but prior to that, he's been nailed the last month and a half. So I just go to, I want depth defensemen, and if I'm trading one of my top 4 defensemen for a forward, then that's depleting me even more on the back end.
So my answer would just be, well, I don't know. Now you have more depth with your forwards. Maybe you can spin off a forward elsewhere. You still have other draft picks or prospects. So that would be my answer to how you could address the Carlo need. Like in other words, Vancouver, if you're dealing with them, they have Horvat, they have Luke Schenn. Maybe you could have rolled Carlo and Moore into a bigger deal, and now you're plugging 2 needs on the team.
Sure, I think you can. I think you could get a Schenn for something a lot less. I think the other issue is
well, then good. There, get him for less.
Yeah, no. Listen, I think a guy like that's on the board. They have another guy, Ethan Barrett, that's out there that's playing 19 minutes a night. He's on the top pairing with Luke Hughes, Quinn Hughes. Sorry, he's also a guy that could fit that mold. The defensemen are harder to get because everybody wants them. Tampa wants one of those guys. Toronto wants one of those guys. Carolina wants one of those guys. So you have to pay a little bit more, and you also have to be concerned about how you put those deals together.
Razor, where would you grade out Don Sweeney in terms of his ability to make in-season trades? I feel like that's one of his strengths.
It is. And what they do well, what he's done very well in the organization is they have been laser focused on guys that will fit in with this culture. And they truly believe that if guys are willing to buy in, if guys are the likes of their culture, they can make them better right away. And I think we've seen that with Pavel Zacha. I think we've seen it with Hampus Lindholm, Taylor Hall. They've all been great fits. They've come into the room. They're very professional. They're very good people. They go along with the team mentality, and I think we've seen all 3 of those players thrive being a Boston Bruin from where they came from prior. And that's I think, been Don's strength, is being able to identify who will work with this group and how they can improve.
All right, well, that'll do it for us here. Andrew, we appreciate you joining us here on the new installment in the afternoons with Jones and Mego and Arcand. Andrew Raycroft every week on Tuesday at this time, 3:30. You can mark that down. Razor, thanks so much. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks. I'm pumped for the new show. Congrats.
All right, we are as well. A lot of the city of Boston is very, very excited.
So much positive feedback yesterday.
Very excited. Oh, it was nothing but positivity, Andrew. As I know you know on social media, it's all that's out there.
Yeah, that Twitter place is such a happy spot.
It really, really is. We were reminded of that yesterday.